I called him David. He has been watching me. In the last month or so, I've seen horrors beyond my own understanding. Growing up, I've been a massive fan of the horror genre. When I was young, before I could remember everything clearly, my mother would take me and my older siblings to the library to get Goosebumps CDs. I must have been no younger than 3, maybe 4. This is what my mother told me anyways, but that is neither here nor there. This is just to say I was not easy to scare growing up. I still am not easy to scare. I was born in Montana on the 3rd of March 2003, and after I turned 4 or 5, my dad had to get a different job as the housing crisis had begun. He had no college degree or any experience that would be considered worthwhile, so he would take what he could get. That would lead us to move down to Sheridan, Wyoming. Sheridan is just under the Montana border with a couple of thousand people living there. We moved here because of the grandparents on my mom's side. They moved here way back, raising both my mom and uncle in this small town. With the help of that family, my dad got a job working as a teller for a bank. Not the most lucrative way of making money, but a way to make money nonetheless. And while this move to nowhere did not affect me, my older sister was devastated. I had no school friends. I was just in preschool. My older sister, on the other hand, who had been in elementary school for some time, cried the whole car ride. My younger sister, born 3 years after me, did not even know what was going on. For me, everything was fine for years despite my family having no money. I had the whole school experience with things such as puppy love, after-school activities, and spending time with friends. On my birthdays or Christmas, after I started to understand the financial situation my parents were in, I tried not asking for expensive toys or gadgets in an attempt to make life easier for my parents and for me to be less disappointed. The 5 of us were happy. Of course, all the other kids my age thought I was crazy. I didn't have a phone. The only console I had was a Wii. The Wii U had come out, and all the food we ate was great value or something similar to Walmart brand food. I was not popular, but overall I was well liked. And I would continue to embrace this life I built until middle school, 6th or 8th grade in Sheridan, when my first encounter happened. I remember it being winter as snow was everywhere. The house we had in Sheridan was walking distance from the middle school. Back in those days, the neighbor kids, my older sister, and I walked to and from school every day. It wasn't rare for one of us to stay a little longer to talk to a teacher or go do something else completely. We were all independent individuals. Hell, one of the neighbor's kids only walked to school with us and not once walked back with us. During the winter, the group largely resembled that of kids from A Christmas Story. During the colder months, minus being chased. One day, I would stay at school a little later than usual, and I had told that group to leave me behind. My English teacher wanted me to finish a project I had. She was worried as I was terrible with doing homework. I don't exactly remember if I finished or not. Probably not. I was a bit airheaded and typically forgot what all happened at school by the time I walked home. By that time I was outside walking home. The sun had begun to set. Not too unusual as it gets dark around 5 during the winter months. This meant if you had extracurriculars in this time, you almost always went home as the sun was setting. Something I didn't do often at the time, meaning this was a first to me. It wasn't eerie or anything, just a different time in the same place. The night sky was clear, but the air was freezing. My glasses would fog up as I breathed, trying to contain the heat leaving my mouth by having my coat cover the lower half of my body. The route I took home brought me through Kendrick Park, a lovely place in the spring, summer, and fall, but dull and lifeless in the winter. There is a path that goes up this hill that splits a miniature forest in half. This was before they built an improved path below the parking lot of the school to keep the hill in place. That wooded area always seemed much more vast and full as a kid than they actually were. We'd play in them often, tag and such, for hours, never seeming to reach any ends. Anyways, I was marching down this path, careful not to slip on the ice. There were, or are, lights that lined the path illuminating the snow ahead of me. And, of course, like your typical horror movie, there was a shuffling in the trees. That night was the first night I saw David. That is what I called him. That is what I still call him. David was a tall, nude man that terrified me. I'm not sure of his motives, but I say he was hunting me at times. It wasn't until I reached the bottom of the hill that I turned around to see him. He had no genitals, thank God, but he was just standing there in this cold weather. No clothing, no fur, just a mist being expelled through his mouth. I could only stare into his dark eyes, the pupils seeming never-ending. It felt like an eternity, but it couldn't have been more than 5 minutes before I started to run. I ran. I began to sob, afraid to turn around, stumbling every so often as the weight of my backpack made it difficult to keep my balance. I'd make it home that night. I'm not sure if David even chased me. Crashing through the front door, my mom came to comfort me quick after hearing me cry. I don't remember much after that. According to my older sister, I blurted out something about a naked tall man whose eyes were not his own. Mom, practically freaking out herself, my sister's words, called the cops. But they did not find anyone, or they couldn't find anyone. My mom was afraid, mad, confused. She would tell Dad what I said once he got home, and eventually even my grandfather caught wind of what happened. The two of them would go out and search with the cops without much success. The man was gone. I would later tell my sister about David. She had the idea of giving him his name to make it easier for me to tell her. I don't know if she believed me at the time. She was born a skeptic, like everyone in my family. Her reaction was one of confusion. But after that night, she would always walk closer to me when she could. She probably thought I just saw a man, just like my parents and police. The neighbor kids had took note of the police from the previous night. They would ask my sister and I, neither of us knowing what to say. I wouldn't say anything. My sister would speak for me, lying, saying that I found a lost dog or something, and the police were just picking it up as it ran out the front door. Something like that. They didn't push for more details. I wouldn't see David again for months, maybe over a year. I can't remember, those details seemed to be faded with time. I had almost completely forgotten about David, but the fear from my first experience followed me even after the memory disappeared. I still remember the heat of the day from the second encounter with David. It was summer. I couldn't tell you the day or exact time of when I saw him, as when you're a kid without ambition, summer passes you by so quick you lose track of time. I had a friend with me this time, Justin. He was just like me. A kid with no ambition, little money, and doing whatever he can to entertain himself. The two of us would go around on our cheap bikes, buying snacks with change found in couches, watching TV, playing video games, swimming, etc., etc. On this day, We threw ice cream in a blender and made milkshakes with Great Value ice cream. It was a typical summer day for us until Justin got bored of the YouTube video that had autoplayed. Justin would look at me and ask, "Did you know we have a basement?" I didn't, and I was intrigued. Justin lived in a house with a family above his home. I just assumed that there might have been a family below us if there was a basement. Justin would then ask, "Do you want to go down there and explore?" Of course, I say of course. We had to go out the back door. The heat was beating down on the two of us. The basement hatch was just to the left of the back door. Justin opened it up, and we both went down, Justin leading me. There were no lights. I suppose the light bulbs that were down there had burnt out years ago. Someone leaving them on and never coming back down. It was clear that nobody had been down there in a while. Thankfully, Justin had brought a flashlight with him. There were no doors, only concrete imitating doorways. The cold layout of the basement resembled the home that lay above it, with walls and corners. Other than the rats and lone boxes, the basement was empty. The two of us would scrounge around the loose boxes, careful not to disturb any rats. They were largely filled with garbage. Many of the boxes were filled with old clothes, creepy dolls, and even some jewelry that looked expensive. When we came across anything that looked like treasure, one of us would cram the thing into one of our pockets. Justin found a ball and we passed it to each other in the dark for a minute before resuming our search. Lots of boring things, old papers we did not want to read, and dusty books were quickly unpacked. The basement now looked like it was robbed. I mean, depending on how you look at it, we did rob it. "What the hell?" Justin would scream. I would turn around, going to see what Justin was swearing over. David. He was blocking the way out. My blood ran cold. That winter, from several months before, suddenly flooded my thoughts. The cold feeling from that night returning to my face. I now have a better look at this thing. Using the 4 doorways as a reference, this thing was taller than the typical doors in a house, having to slouch to fit in the damn basement. It had thin hair that was illuminated by the sunlight coming from the only exit, a light that I now so desperately wanted to feel. And its eyes, its damn eyes. The pupils filled the entire eye, making them pitch black. Neither me nor Justin could be brought to move. A minute or two goes by of silence. Justin would make a slow inhale. "Who the hell are you? What do you want?" Justin would scream, breaking the silence. The thing smiled, slowly, but noticeably. Damn. Without taking my eyes off the thing, I reached for something, anything within a box near me. I grabbed an old picture frame and stand up once again. I was ready to throw whatever I grabbed at David. Justin began to breathe faster, beginning to panic. "Leave us alone. Go away, you freak." Justin tossed an entire box, this one filled with the old clothing we did not want. The box would fall short, coming to the thing's feet. David looked at it. Every move David made was slow, painfully slow. David picked up something from the pile that spilled out of the box. The two of us stopped breathing, waiting for him to attack or defend something. But the thing, David, left, slowly, without warning, without noise. The two of us just stood there, unable to move in fear that he was waiting for us. I broke my focus to look at Justin. He looked back. "Hey!" I broke the silence, hoping and praying that I didn't call the creature back to us. "Yeah?" Justin responded, voice shaking. "Let's go to my house." The two of us ran up the stairs, slammed into the back door, grabbing whatever. We got on our bikes and left. We didn't speak, not until we were at my home. We acted as if nothing had happened. Justin would spend the night, and the two of us stayed up late into the next morning. Justin would move to his grandfather's a day later, a nice place just out of town. I'd ask about this later in life. Apparently something happened to the family above him overnight. His mom was the one who sent him to his grandpa, and she did not tell him why until he was an adult. Justin and I would still hang out. We arguably hung out more now. I'd practically spent the entire weekend over at Justin's grandfather with Justin. Being close enough to town as it isn't a whole ordeal to get a ride back, but just far enough out that we can do even more things. All those homes all had large backyards, large enough to do miniature camping trips. Being outside of town meant we could have large fires, fireworks, etc. Justin would end up getting a BB gun. While we never shot at any animals, we would practice our aim shooting these makeshift targets. The targets we set up were on this dingy shed. We would talk about the basement one day, the weekend before school started. "Do you know what it was?" The question came from Justin. I wanted to play dumb, but immediately knew what he was talking about. "What? The thing that trapped us in the basement?" Justin paused. You did not scream, did you? I don't know, see him before?" "Once." "Did he follow you to my house?" I'm not sure." I shot Justin's BB gun, missing the target entirely. I handed Justin his gun for his turn. "Have you seen him since then?" I asked. "Maybe it's like I'd see him standing in the corner of a room, but it's just a shirt hanging up." Justin shivered, recalling his memory. "Let's forget about him." "David," I told Justin. "That's what I call him." "Why David? Why did your mom call you Justin?" Justin fired his shot, one ring off from a bullseye. "Dunno. I call him David for the same reason your mom calls you Justin, 'cause, well, that's just how things go." I pause again, lining up my shot. "I don't know, I'm just a kid." I shot a bullseye. Not long after this conversation, David would come to see me. Justin was in Minnesota with his grandfather, going on a trip to visit family. It was the first weekend since school started. I wasn't used to the school schedule yet, so I was staying up late and watching Adult Swim or whatever was on that late. I ended up falling asleep in my living room. Tap, tap, tap. The couch I was sleeping on was under the window and was facing towards the street. The window has curtains, but I left the curtains up after closing the window. I wasn't thinking. The TV was on the other side of the room. If someone wanted, they could watch whatever Adult Swim show was on along with me. But alas, our TV had this automatic turn-off system so that after an hour or so, it would turn off. It means the poor street folk couldn't watch our TV without me. I was dreaming. I forget about what. It doesn't matter. But there's this tapping I hear in my dream. Well, I know now that the tapping wasn't a dream. The room was almost silent. Darkness was overwhelming. My eyes were adjusted to the dim-lit room, the only light being from the moon. I didn't move my body, I was tired. I had my eyes half open and taking in the room around me, about to close them when tap, tap, tap. I fully opened my eyes. I hadn't gotten up yet. I shuffled to get up, but that is when I saw David, his reflection in the black screen TV. I froze. My gaze was locked onto David's reflection. He was grinning. His smile was unnaturally large tonight. His eyes were fixated on me, looking down on me. I was defenseless, afraid, and unable to move. I watched his reflection for hours, literal hours this time. Every 10 or so minutes, counting 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3, starting back at 1 again every time he tapped on the glass. About the second hour in, I had to pee. I ended up peeing my pants. The wet stain in my pants was uncomfortable and it stunk. I know my mom and dad would be mad about me peeing on the couch, but I couldn't be bothered with that seemingly pointless thought right now. Right now, I needed to not move. Another hour would go by. 18 window taps an hour, I assumed. 3,600 seconds. The dread I felt was stronger than the need to sleep. Another hour would go by. Then another hour of this painful counting, of this tapping routine. And after another 30 minutes, about 6:30, the man frowns. His expression was angry. The anxiety I felt while watching him leave was immeasurable. Once I was confident he was gone, about 5 minutes after he faded from the TV, I ran into my bedroom. I'd throw off my pajamas and underwear, walk into my room and pass out into my bed. My dad was furious about the pee. It was about 2 p.m. when I woke up. I would exit my room with a dirty towel around my waist, and while heading towards the shower, my dad would stop me. "Why does the couch smell like pee?" I was ready to tell him, but only after I showered. "Can I please go shower first? I can explain it when I'm clean." "Are you hungover? Are you doing drugs? What drugs are you doing?" My dad had a mix of fury and concern. I ignored his questions for now. He allowed me to head into the bathroom, seeing how little I was dressed. I would have to explain it. He wouldn't let go of this if I didn't. The water from my shower head felt amazing. I washed away all the sweat and pee sticking to me. To be in a room with no windows for David to peek into gave me relief. I'd washed everything that day, hair to toes. The water helped me wake up, bringing me out of the drowsy state I was in. I would finish my shower, put clean clothes on, and meet my dad right as I exit the bathroom. I did not know what to tell him. I know I didn't do drugs that day, but what part of the night was deliverable? An impossibly tall man who had black eyes watched me sleep? I tried to explain what I saw. Thankfully, he half believed me. He believed that there could have been a man at the window that night, but he also had me drug tested. The results came back negative for all drugs we tested for. My parents officially were concerned now. This was the second time, to their knowledge, as I had yet to bring up the basement incident that I brought up David. This creepy nudist who had a thing for their son. We had no security at the time, nothing to prevent a break-in or any sort of crime from happening. This is when they decided to start taking their jobs more seriously. My mom was hired to be a substitute teacher. It helps pay for small luxury things like on-brand food. My dad eventually got promoted, a lot. Even though he did not have a college degree, he took personal time to study how banking and loans work. This study eventually got him a job giving loans to people who want to buy houses and cars and such. It was after one of his many promotions Dad went to buy security cameras. That would be the last I saw of David in my teenage years. I couldn't tell you why. Maybe David has an understanding of modern technology. Maybe he got bored of me. But just because I didn't see him doesn't mean he had stopped visiting me. However, it was January. Earlier this year, I had been looking through old photos. I hadn't thought of David since I was 13 all those years ago. I'm of legal drinking age now. 10 whole years. As of now, me and my girlfriend were planning on moving in together. I was getting boxes filled with stuff I thought I needed. Looking through my old stuff, I found some old photos from my teen years. Some were Polaroids, some were printed from one of those Walmart kiosks. It was nostalgic looking at me and Justin back in those years. There was a photo of the day I first met my girlfriend, and another after I had my first drink. Then, there was a photo of the mountain trip me and Justin and some others had. It was Justin's grandpa who took us and who took the photo. We were 16 at the time. There were 2 other boys, Brandon and Sam. The photo was taken on a Polaroid, but there were 5 figures in the photo. I didn't think much of it until minutes thinking about who all was there. How the hell did I miss this? The memories of David came back. The snow, the basement, the reflection. There were more photos, some where David was right next to me. The bastard never left me alone. The photos I had went up until my 21st birthday, and checking my phone I had some photos of him just last Christmas. But Christmas was just last month. My girlfriend came into my room, concerned. "What's wrong, baby? Look at this photo." It was a photo from the mountain trip. "What's up with it? If Doug, Justin's grandpa, took the photo, and Justin, Sam, and Brandon are in the photo with me, who is that?" I pointed to the figure. She was worried. It was written on her face. But she didn't say anything before I started showing her all the other photos. One from my birthday, our anniversary, and even one from my grandpa's funeral on my dad's side. I don't know." Her voice was faint compared to her normal volume. What was she supposed to know? Her boyfriend had gone crazy. I look around my room, pushing things around. I break some things as I'm opening the curtains in my room and looking out the window. He was there. His face was almost pressed up to the window, just like last time. I didn't know what to do. My girlfriend shrieked seeing the man there, quickly scurrying out of the room. She called 911, explaining the situation. My mum heard from the living room and came running in. It all happened so fast. Mum pushed me to the side. Bang, 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 bang. 4 shots rang through the house. My mum had bought a pistol, after the financial situation improved, of course. But she never forgot what I said, the experiences I had at 13. She was ready for this day. David gave an animal-like screech, running away. I got up in time to see him disappear into the night. The cops would question the 3 of us, asking my mom to see the security footage. The footage was corrupted, from minutes before I opened my curtain to right after David left. I spent these last few months afraid, not sure what to do next. I would stay inside for long periods of time. I thought she would leave me, but apparently my girlfriend loves me more than I thought. helping me go through these last months. But I've been inside for too long now. I ain't having to be taken care of. I need to get my life back in order. I'm going to go around asking about my situation around town, bringing up to extended family, etc. I hope David had died to the bullets, but just in case, I'm asking if anyone has had a similar experience. Any advice or clues as to what I'm dealing with is appreciated.